Back again, Tony DeAngelo here on Connecticut Morning, and a face familiar to some of you. If he's not familiar to you now, he will be very shortly. This is my friend Bobby Fiore, who is the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate. Those of you who have watched the show know epilepsy is very personal to me. My dad was afflicted with epilepsy, and during a time when there was an ignorance about it, and it's due to the good work of Bobby and people in his organization bringing out new information and keeping his pulse on so many affairs involving the condition and treatment and some of the things that we can all do. It's a little bit of a lot of a much better world, and as we move a little bit at a time. A little bit about the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate. It was formed as an alternative organization to make more people aware about epilepsy. It has set its goals to focus on the many facets of epilepsy not currently explored to their fullest. The website has 27 pages, and Bob will tell you about that. Bob will interact with you, give you his best, whatever information he can provide, he will. And the motto is awareness, and awareness and finding out about the condition of epilepsy. And it is a recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization. And Bob, the president, the founder, my friend, my contemporary, nice to see you. And
thanks for having me. In actuality, it's progress through awareness. But you're close.
Thank you. Well, you know, isn't that really it? Progress through awareness. Now take the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Stagnation through ignorance.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's what it boils down to. I know, it's amazing. I appreciate you, number one, having us.
As always.
And bringing everything up. One of the things that we've been looking at in general is that a lot of people have trouble getting medication because the cost is phenomenal. So what we did, we started about a year ago, a prescriptions page on the website, and we tell people just go to that page, there's about 7 choices you can go to, and just shop around and see the best price possible for you. As far as, a lot of people said this year, what do you do with the funding? Because we only have that one fundraiser, and that's Strike Out Epilepsy. This year alone, before the first quarter ended, there were 5 people that needed help with finding a doctor, paying for medication. We encourage everybody, please get a medical alert bracelet, because not only is it protection for you, we set up an ICE, in case of emergency sheet, for that person. And we tell them who are your contacts, we put them on there. And the most important thing is have one in the house, have it in your travel bag, have at least 3 people to contact in case of emergency. And medical alert is great. I mean, it's ironic. I was speaking to people last night, and they say, no one ever knows about the bracelet. I said, well, that's where you have to come in and explain to them. And when they walk in and they see that ice sheet, it just saves so much time, because all the questions are asked. They're going to stick to, can you hear me, and how do you feel, things like that. The other thing that gets brought up is people say, what do you do when a person has a seizure? And that's on the website under the FAQ. We tell them all the time, if you know the person and what's going to happen with them, follow that criteria and then wait a few moments before you call 911. Naturally clear the area, make sure they're not bumping anything, they're not going to be drinking any water, whatever it is, so they don't choke. But if you do not know the person, definitely follow this. The same thing as far as clear the area, see if there's anything available, like a medical alert bracelet or an ice sheet. If you don't find that, when you get to about the 3rd minute, call 911. And then, wait there. When they arrive, explain to them everything you can as far as what happened. And if they ask you to please come along to the ER, be kind enough to do so, because that's very helpful.
Well, and this is, and not to leave this, you do have a fundraiser coming up in the very near term, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Can you tell our folks about that?
Sure. Strike Out Epilepsy this is our 3rd year we're having it, and the amount of people that are coming has grown. Right now, there's 20 lanes booked, and I know we always get walk-ins. And it's an afternoon of fun. I've said this over and over. We tell people with the kids, we'll put up the gutter guards. I'm like, Marlon, they don't need the gutter guards, I do. And that's becoming the norm. That's becoming the norm. And I'm like, come on, you guys played bocce and everything. Aren't you used to that? And then, nah, the kids are better. I said, okay, that's good.
Well, you know, and not to take away from the focus, you just think of like old Woodside Park in Stamford, Connecticut, and that dedicated group of Italian gentlemen that would be out by, I mean, snow, rain, whatever, and it was quite a...
Well, even I had a team there. It was Bob
Did you
Fiore's,
really?
Yeah, Bob Fiore's All-Stars. We were there for 3 years.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, like, coming back from a ball game, I'd always sit and watch it. It was a fascinating thing to watch as far as just a really great game. I love the story of you starting your organization or the organization, because to me it's just that thing of, I see something, I see a need not being met, and I'm going to fill it myself. Can you tell our folks, those that don't know you, how you did this?
Yeah. Well, I've had epilepsy since birth. It was discovered when I was 9 months old. I would go out and I was helping this one and that one, but they seemed to be setting their goals. They didn't want to change anything. And then one day my wife and I were sitting down talking, and she just turned around and says, "Why don't you start your own organization?" And I looked at her, "You serious?" She goes, "Yeah, why not?" I'm like, okay, coming from her, that's really good. And the rest you know. You know yourself, setting up any business, a nonprofit, whatever, it takes time.
And work.
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, it's funny, we helped a woman about 3 weeks ago, and we were setting up her ice sheet and other things, and so I called her at the house. I guess it was after 8:30, whatever. Then the next day I did a follow-up. She goes, "I owe you an apology." I says, "For what?" She says, "You called the house, it was after 8:30, and says your hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I said, "Please." I said, "We have to put something." I says, I said, "Yeah, those are the standard hours, but believe me, I'm not going to turn you off and say, well, I know you don't feel good, I can't deal with you next Monday." And she goes, "I wanted to make sure." I said, no problem.
Well, you know, and where I get so fascinated with your story and stories like yours, right now it's about you and your story, is as you did this, you started to learn about the pharmaceutical system, the government, the budgets, things available for people with needs and things like that. We were chatting briefly just about the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah. What I can't understand with the CDC, Center for Disease Control, is that they focus on so many things. People say, "How many people have epilepsy in America?" I says, "It's 3 million. And then again, they haven't really updated those numbers. Excuse me, so it's a matter of what you want to believe. Personally, I will stick to the 3 million until they come up with new numbers and something to fall back on. Here in Connecticut, approximately 60,000. And if you don't mind, I've said this in the past, that if you take the basic math, there's 8 counties in Connecticut, and then you divide that to the 60,000. That's about 7,500 per county. Now here in Connecticut, there's more people in Fairfield County, New Haven County, and Hartford County that have epilepsy. But then again, has anybody taken the task to get those numbers updated? And the answer is no.
And it's just, it's an amazing thing, because when I think of numbers, and this is just my pea-brain way, which I've discussed many times in the show, when I grasp things, I think of full Yankee stadiums.
Yeah.
Now, 3 million people, that's 60 Yankee stadiums full.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a ton of people.
Right.
It's insane. It's just, it's an incredibly large amount, and the fact that resources can be better directed and aren't, really, I mean, put it this way, I mean, thank God you're here talking about it.
Well, thank you. One family that contacted us, it was their insurance had maxed out at the beginning of March, and they couldn't afford medication and other things too. I said, let me check it out. Long story short, 3 of the 5 medications they now get for free because we interacted with the drug companies, and they understand their financial status. And also I said, your son needs a medical alert bracelet, we'll take care of that. Ironically, because we have direct contact with Medical Alert, they contacted me and says, Robert, I can't tell you what to do, but for a few dollars more, he can have a 3-year membership because he's a teenager. I'm like, fine, just give it to him. We try to be different in that way, that yes, we watch every penny that we spend. We're very economical in that vein. But by the same token, when it comes time to take that money and put it to good use, yes, we'll do the best, to put it to good use.
And I think it's fair to mention, and should be mentioned, that you are, or the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate is a fully qualified charity, and people may give to you, and we'd like to see them do that.
Oh, that'd be great. We always appreciate a donation or some sort of support. We have no problem with that. But like I say, we really want people to know that it's not just the money coming in from the only fundraiser, Strikeout Epilepsy. When the money comes in, it's being put to a good purpose.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, you have been, fervent in your just up and down the state. I mean, I watch you on Facebook, and you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. And I mean, it's like, so beware here. And it's just that if you weren't doing this to the degree that you are, I mean, as you say, progress through awareness. Because our attention spans these days are so fried and so limited. We can remember a time, being, even though, we knew people in common, but did not, we seem to think we might have hung out at some point through common friends. But
oh, yeah.
Do you remember when we thought we were really hot in the greater New York metropolitan area? We had 7 TV channels. Yep. 7, count them, 7. 3 newspapers, 3 newspapers.
And at least 5 radio stations.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was AM.
Yeah, right, and WABC. And it's like today, it's, like we're on live stream, we do, and it's just, it's just this thing of where if someone's not out there saying, hey, consider this, I mean, it doesn't happen.
No, because who knew that growing up in the 20th century, how much would happen in that small time frame from when we were kids? Mm-hmm. And here we are in the 21st century, and it's like, if someone had asked me, says, you're walking around with a droid and everything, you've got to keep up with the times and what's going on.
Yeah.
You cannot lay stagnant.
No, and it's like, because I found that, like, in the trust and estate business, where I've had trustees had to resign because they can't communicate electronically.
Right.
And it's just really, that's, we do have to adapt. Talking about funding and talking about, and these are just some of the things I have heard. I've heard about the governor, a man we know who has decided that, and I say this as a statement of fact, not as a statement of criticism, where he's letting go of some of the free care spending to the hospitals in the hope that Obamacare will pick up that slack. The lower realm of Obamacare is supposed to pick up people for free to a certain extent. No one really kind of knows where all that's going. No one really kind of knows what the effects of Obamacare will be it on the high end, the low end. The high end, the Cadillac plans know they're going to get surtaxed. Everybody else in between is kind of wondering, okay, now where do I fit in all of this? What have you seen in your experiences, and what can we expect, or perhaps it's too soon to tell?
It is a bit too soon to tell, but I have to be honest and actually a little blunt. The way I look at it is this, it's amazing, I mean, like any place, there's some good people, but our House and Senate really does not get involved enough. And I'm not going to hold my breath, but until the day comes where they're not covered with these high plans for healthcare and everything, and if they're in the same boat as us with Social Security or Medicare, then they'll be dancing to a different drummer. So, not to be blunt, but most of them, not all of them, they really don't care. And that's sad. And the other thing, is the fact that a lot of doctors have just dropped out because anything they do wrong, they get sued. So it's like, well, why bother? And in a way, I don't blame them. I mean, they're very hard workers. They go to med school. It's a lot of effort. They're doing like 18, 20-hour days.
And you come out and you come to a certain point, and then you say to yourself, well, why is this worth it for the risk I am taking?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, you can kind of see as we get into the later part of 2013 and 2014 with the full vesting of Obamacare,
right,
you can kind of see your advocacy is going to go off in 5 or 6 or 9 or 15 different directions.
Right. But by the same token, we tell people, if you feel that this is not working, then that's when you have to go online, get on the phone, actually use a thing called U.S. Mail and contact these people and stay after them. But, sitting around the table or wherever you are and saying, this one's no good, this is, well, that's not accomplishing anything. You've got to contact them and remind these people that your tax dollars make their paycheck a reality.
Now, let me ask you this, because, I love your journey. And even though I really don't like the term journey, I think it's often used, and I think it's used in contexts where it shouldn't be, but in your case, it's a journey, and I love it. Do you think, and this is, like James Brown used to sing, if I ruled the world, do you think that resources that are available, or let's just not restate the obvious. How can resources be better distributed on a legislative, national, state, whatever you want to call it, policy level, to where you could see a lot done, as the epilepsy advocate that you're not seeing now?
I feel that if there's interaction from the CDC and another organization, which I'll try to bring up in a second, is that what they have to do is look at the basic things now. And if they look at the top 5 things, anything relevant to epilepsy as far as what type of seizures a person has, they cannot afford a medication, what does your hospital offer compared to others? We know that right here in New Haven County there's Yale. You can go up to Hartford County, there's Hartford Hospital. And even they're growing as far as epilepsy. But a lot of people in Fairfield County, either they take the trek up to New Haven or they go right into Manhattan. That's a long haul in either direction.
Sure.
And again, if it just could be formatted, if you will, so there's like the top 5 things that could be addressed, that'd make it easy for so many people. And forgive me, I know it's the CDC and the other ones that look over the medication. If the 2 of them would be more organized and
the FDA.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you. If they looked at that and saw what everything is going. Even we spoke of this in the past, where there's over 40 medications for epilepsy, and a lot of insurance companies refuse to give you the brand prescribed by doctors. And the irony is, we're coming up on the 2nd year where it is a law in the state of Connecticut, and a lot of the pharmacy refuse to honor it. And it's been made abundantly clear, as long as your doctor puts on anything, whether it's brand name only, and we tell people, put brand prescribed by doctor, or if you're going to put brand name only, put the actual brand name. And I think I mentioned this to you, I have to stick on a particular medication that's called Keppra, and it's manufactured by UCB. The insurance company we presently have refused to get it from them, but then they agreed with a higher copay. So it's $150 each quarter. And I have 3 medications I pay quarterly, so I believe that's what, $400?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every quarter, times, that's...
Yeah, and you can only, put it this way, we can do more than hope, as you say. We write, we become active, we say, hey, this isn't working, we start to put pressure on them. Yeah, a pox on both your houses if you can't get this thing straightened out. Let you deal with, legislators, what we're dealing with, but, it's, we can do more than hope, but you're right.
Well, it's like anything else, there's strength in numbers. If somebody was outside here in New Haven and one guy's holding up a sign, I want 2-hour parking, not what is going to get accomplished, but you fill the entire green with a couple thousand people, yeah, it would start to wake a few people up, but we should address this.
And believe me, I'm so thankful we are. We're coming up on the end of our time, and it's always too quickly for you. Why don't, in our closing moments, we have the Strikeout Epilepsy happening. What should we look for from you and the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate as we head into the spring and the summer? And where will we see you? What will you be involved in? And most importantly, where can everybody reach you?
It's simple, just go to the website, it's ct-ea.org. Again, that's ct-ea.org. And if for some reason you can't pull up the website, just Google Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate. And as I said over and over, we offer a wealth of information on that website. And if you don't find it there, contact us.
Great. Well, it's time ends up to be too short. Tony DeAngelo here in Connecticut Morning with my good pal, Stanford Goomba, contemporary Bobby Fiore, the Connecticut Epilepsy Advocate. We will be joining you at the top of the hour with government watchdog Bob Swick. You get a little bit of everything here on Connecticut Morning, but we're so honored to have Bobby, and thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate
so
it.
great to have you, and we'll see you right back after this.